Assalamu alaikum. Here we will discuss about inflammatory bowel disease. Inflammatory bowel disease is a chronic condition which results from inappropriate mucosal immune activation. There are two types of diseases which are involved in inflammatory bowel disease. One is ulcerative colitis and the other one is Crohn disease. These two diseases, ulcerative colitis and Crohn disease, mostly occurs during teens and early 20s. These diseases are more common in Caucasians and mostly occur in people living in North America, Northern Europe, and Australia. During recent years, there is increased in the incidence of inflammatory bowel disease, and according to hygiene hypothesis, it is related to improved food storage, decreased food contamination, and changes in gut microorganisms. Now we will discuss about the pathogenesis of the inflammatory bowel disease. Different factors are involved in the development of inflammatory bowel disease. Mainly, there are four factors. Number one, there may be alterations in the host interactions with intestinal microorganisms. We know that normally in our intestines many microorganisms are present, for example, E. coli. If there is any alteration in host interactions with these microorganisms, then it can lead to inflammatory bowel disease. Then there can be intestinal epithelial dysfunction. There may be abnormal mucosal immune responses, or there may be altered composition of the gut microorganisms. According to certain studies, there is also genetic involvement in the development of inflammatory bowel disease. The chances for the development of Crohn disease is 50% in cases of monozygotic twins. And monozygotic twins have chances of 15% of development of ulcerative colitis. Whereas in case of dizygotic twins, the chances of the development of inflammatory bowel disease is 10%. Certain genes are involved in the development of inflammatory bowel disease. One gene is NOD2 gene or NOD2 gene, which is used for nucleotide oligomerization binding domain 2, NOD2 gene. Then there are two other genes, one is ATG16L1 and the other is IRGM. These three genes are involved somehow in the development of inflammatory bowel disease. Now, what is the pathogenesis? This is the lumen of the intestine. This is the mucosa, the mucosal epithelium, and this is the lamina propria. We can see bacteria are present in the intestinal lumen. These bacteria are responsible for the release of certain toxic substances or bacterial products. These bacterial products cross the mucosal epithelium and enter into the lamina propria. In the lamina propria, these bacterial products are taken up by dendritic cells or macrophages, which are actually the antigen presenting cells, and they are presented to T cells and cause activation of T cells. Three types of T cells are activated: T helper 1 cells, T helper 2 cells, and T helper 17 cells. T helper 1 cells release interferon gamma and tumor necrosis factor. Interferon gamma causes activation of macrophages, and tumor necrosis factor causes damage to the mucosal epithelium, due to which more and more bacterial products can enter lamina propria. Similarly, interleukin 13, which is released by T helper 2 cells, damage the mucosal epithelium. T helper 17 cells release interleukin 17, which cause activation and infiltration of neutrophils in the lamina propria. So, in case of bacterial contamination, there is infiltration of neutrophils as well as macrophages in the lamina propria, and they can be seen on histology. This is the pathogenesis of inflammatory bowel disease. Now, as we have discussed, that there are two types of inflammatory bowel disease. One is Crohn disease and other is ulcerative colitis. There are certain differences between these two diseases which are to be discussed here. There are macroscopic differences, microscopic differences, and clinical differences. So, number one is the region which is affected by these diseases. In case of Crohn disease, any part of the GIT can be affected. Any part of GIT can be involved from the mouth to anus. But the most important area which is involved in the Crohn disease is the terminal ileum, ileocecal junction and the cecum. Mostly this area is involved, but it can involve any part of GI tract. But in case of ulcerative colitis, the terminal part of the intestines are involved, including anus, rectum, and the sigmoid colon. And this disease moves from downward upwards. It means that first of all it will involve the anus, then it will move upward to the rectum, and then to the sigmoid colon. Then there is distribution of the disease. In case of Crohn disease, there are skip lesions present, which means that disease is not continuous or diffuse. For example, here we can see that this dark area is the area which is involved. This is the inflamed area. Then this is the lighter color area which is normal. Then this is again involved area. So we can see in case of Crohn disease there are skip lesions. These skip lesions are not present in ulcerative colitis. And in case of ulcerative colitis, the area where disease is present is, here we can say that the disease is diffusely involving the last part of the intestine. Then in case of Crohn disease, strictures can appear. Here we can see strictures. This is the stricture. These strictures are not present in ulcerative colitis. Actually, the reason is that in case of Crohn disease, there is inflammation of all the layers of the walls of the intestine. This is the wall of intestine, and these are the layers. This is the mucosa. This is the mucosa. Then this is submucosa. This is the muscularis, and this is serosa. And there is inflammation of all these layers. There is transmural inflammation. Due to transmural inflammation in case of Crohn disease, strictures appear in Crohn disease. In case of ulcerative colitis, inflammation occurs only in mucosa. Here only mucosa is involved. So in ulcerative colitis, there are no strictures. Then we have wall appearance. In case of Crohn disease, there is thickening in the walls. The walls become thickening because there is transmural inflammation. While in case of ulcerative colitis, there is no thickening in walls. The walls are thin. These are the macroscopic differences. We have discussed all the macroscopic differences. We have discussed the region which is involved, then there is distribution, then strictures, and then wall appearance. Now we go for microscopic differences. Okay. First of all, there is inflammation. We have discussed already that in case of Crohn disease, the inflammation is transmural, involving all the layers of the intestinal wall. In case of ulcerative colitis, the inflammation is limited to mucosa. Here all the walls are involved, and here only mucosa is involved. Then there are pseudopolyps. Pseudopolyps are present both in case of Crohn disease as well as ulcerative colitis, but they are more prominent and more marked in case of ulcerative colitis. These are pseudopolyps, more marked in ulcerative colitis. Then ulcer type. In case of Crohn disease, ulcers are deep. Here we can see deep ulcers. Deep ulcers, and they are knife-like ulcers. However, in case of ulcerative colitis, ulcers are shallow and broad-based. These are broad-based and shallow ulcers. Then we have lymphocytic infiltration. Here we have discussed inflammation, pseudopolyps, and ulcers. Then we have lymphoid reactions. Lymphoid reactions are more marked in Crohn disease as compared to ulcerative colitis because inflammation is more marked in Crohn disease. So there is more lymphoid reaction. Similarly, fibrosis and serositis are more marked in case of Crohn disease as compared to ulcerative colitis because of intense inflammation in case of Crohn disease. Then granuloma formation is present in Crohn disease, and there is no granuloma in ulcerative colitis. Then we have sinuses and fistulas. As we have discussed that in case of Crohn disease, there is transmural inflammation. So sinuses and fistulas are formed in Crohn disease, and there are no sinuses or fistulas in ulcerative colitis. Then we have clinical presentations. Number 1 is perianal fistula. Perianal fistulas are present in Crohn disease, and there is no perianal fistula in ulcerative colitis. Then fats and vitamin malabsorption is present in Crohn disease while it is not present in ulcerative colitis. because Crohn disease is mainly involved the small intestine, and fat and vitamin absorption occurs in small intestine. So fat and vitamin malabsorption occurs in Crohn disease, not in ulcerative colitis, which is involving the terminal part of colon. Then we have malignant potential. Both of these diseases have malignant potential and can result in cancer formation. Then recurrence after surgery. Recurrence after surgery is more common in Crohn disease. Then we have toxic megacolon. Toxic megacolon is a condition in which there is damage to the myenteric plexus in such a way that there are no peristaltic movements in the colon, and it results in constipation and toxic megacolon, and it is present in ulcerative colitis. In case of ulcerative colitis, there is damage to myenteric plexus. Thank you.